Well, that went well.
Yeah, I thought that went pretty good. Now it's just doing that for, 8 more hours.
Yep. Missed that Ashiok interaction. That
Yeah,
won't happen again.
that won't happen again.
That
I
was
didn't even think about that with the Field of Ruin. That makes Field of Ruin so good in that matchup.
yeah.
As if it wasn't already good enough.
Amulet, like A-M-U-L-E-T or I-T?
Amulets, like I'm wearing an amulet.
So
Yep. ET.
E.T.
Answer his question with the things that he gave you, Stacy.
Hush you. All right. Well, since I'm holding these, do you want Dan Johnson or do you want me to have Dan Johnson?
Oh, I'll take Mr. Dan
You
Johnson.
get Mr. Dan Johnson.
We got a modern check pile, too.
Ooh, this will be fun.
Oh, yes.
Oh, man. This is like some cards we were talking about when we were talking with Braden the other day about it, too. This will be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, Baron. Oh, he's got the... I wonder if is there a loam?
We're live.
We're live. All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. So we have round 2 of our Modern 1K set up for you. We have... Player 1 is a local player to us. We lovingly refer to him as Mr. Dan Johnson.
Mr. Dan Johnson, that's right.
And then his opponent, Joshua Jones. Joshua is not a local. I've got his... he kindly filled out our survey on the back, so he's been playing Magic for about 8 years.
Outstanding.
His deck of choice for the check pile today, he enjoys control and mid-range strategies, and he's just playing the cards he likes, which it makes a lot of sense for check pile. Because check pile is usually just kind of a pile of cards that you want to play. So, his greatest Magic achievement, he won SCG States fall of 2015 with Ad Nauseam, and other information he added for us. So he's made the top 8 of an SCG IQ with a 72 card main deck with Mardu Superfront. That's impressive actually to buck the trend and play those extra cards. That's pretty good. The deck was later played on stream by Saffron Olive of MTG Goldfish. So that's always cool when like somebody takes your deck and does something else with it on stream. Like that's kind of the validation part as a brewer. Like there's nothing better as a brewer when you're brewing cards.
It absolutely is. Now, we've got off to a fast start, it looks like. Well, Dan Johnson is on Amulet Titan today, and this will be a really interesting matchup from here. We've got an early Ghost Quarter and a Ren and 6 activation from Joshua Jones with the check pile. This is actually going to be not a game-ending situation here, but this is going to be a very difficult spot for Amulet to overcome.
Yeah, especially with the early Ren and 6. Like the Ren and 6, just being able to pick up that Ghost Quarter, it's going to be a hard time for Dan Johnson today.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough game one.
It's not impossible. He needs a little bit of help. That's all.
My, oh my.
So Ancient Stirrings. I mean, if he can...
Nope, that is a Sakura Tribe Scout.
Oh, that is Sakura Tribe Scout. Okay.
This is... Oh, boy. And there's the Lightning Bolt on the Tribe Scout, which means we get to continue to Ren in 6 Ghost Quarter from here until the Amulet deck is out of basic lands, which is going to be very quickly.
Yeah, I mean... Well, he still has one, so that's good. He's at least not completely locked out yet.
Correct.
And Joshua Jones quickly identifying that is where he wants to be and needs to be.
Yeah. If you're the Amulet player from here and you're already taxed out of bounce lands, and there's Dan drew his other basic land. That's gonna be tough from here.
Yeah.
He'll sack, or he'll lose it. He'll
All right,
search.
he'll search.
He'll fail to find. And I think that's going to be... Oh, he did find his third.
Oh, because one's a Snow Forest.
Correct.
So, is that now his last basic?
That might be, yes.
Because there's the 2 forests. There's the Snow Forest.
Yeah, it's quite hard out there.
Yeah.
There's
Ooh,
an
there's
Azusa.
there's Azusa. Okay. Well, with Azusa, we can get back into this game here.
Can we?
I think so. Like Ren and 6, despite the drawback of having been able to recur that Ghost Quarter return, Ren and 6 also hasn't progressed his own board at all. So it's kind of like we just took 3 time walks and nobody did anything.
Well, hear me out.
All right.
Ren 6 has an ability on the top end that I think when you ultimate is going to be difficult to overcome.
You're going to have to remind me of that.
That's going to give every instant and sorcery in his graveyard retrace.
And with a lightning bolt conveniently already there,
Correct.
could be a bad time.
It could be a bad time.
Although Ren and 6, he looks like he's thinking what to do here. With the plays Dan made last turn, he might not Ghost Quarter again here.
Ren and 6, one of the other breakout, and they knew breakout cards.
They knew.
from Modern Horizons.
They absolutely knew. Oh, so there we are. We are going to go with it. Hit the basic. Yep, Dan Johnson doesn't even bother searching. He's
And
just,
there's the, looks like he's going to plus here to
Yep.
get back the Ghost Quarter.
I mean, this is kind of your typical legacy strategy. It's like, all right, now I'm just going to try and wasteland you out. Except it's better than wasteland. You get to strip mine him out now.
Discarding a Dead of Winter. I happen to be an enormous fan of this configuration from Joshua.
Yeah, it is a, like, looking at his deck list, like it is a very varied deck list. It's really cool.
Very, very deck list.
Yes.
Cards that I own.
Cards that I own, in his own words.
That's terrific. Okay, there's a Coalition Relic from Dan.
All right, well, can't Ghost Quarter that.
No, you can't.
But still has some work to do.
That Azusa did a lot of really good work for Dan to get out from underneath the Ren and 6.
Absolutely.
If you're Joshua from here, do you actually activate? Oh, and the Bajuka Bog from Dan. That actually might have helped him battle out of this.
That's extremely relevant because now unless he he has another Ghost Quarter. So I mean, despite the fact we've had the Ghost Quarter going on every turn, that's the same Ghost Quarter because he keeps activating it right away.
There's another Lightning Bolt from Joshua.
Yeah, I think Azusa did her damage already.
Correct.
But realistically, that Lightning Bolt now is more about making sure Ren and 6 can ultimate.
Yes. Next turn, he gets that activation. It's possible Dan has the Primeval Titan. He's got the Karn, another Azusa.
And he does have the extra mana from Coalition Relics, so
Yes,
he's got his
he
double
does.
green, which is the hard part with all of the destruction that's been going on.
And there's
And there he is.
Primeval Titan. That's going to be a little bit more difficult to Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, especially with 2 of them gone.
I really like the way Dan just maintained a certain level of poise. He drew a little hot, and he identified the Azusa was the thing that would get him out of this situation.
And playing to your outs. Like, knowing what your outs are, having familiarity with the deck is huge. In Modern. Some other formats, not necessarily as much. Modern, you're definitely rewarded for having the reps with your deck. So
From here, Joshua is in that tough spot because he hasn't developed his board,
no.
as you had rightly identified before.
So there's the bounce land, and then Field of Dead was the extra land. And
yes,
and he will get 2 triggers off of
Field of the Dead.
Field of the Dead. Thanks, Valakut, for teaching us how that card works.
That's right. And Dan talked about this week. I had chatted with him on Monday when we played some Modern, and he had talked about really liking these Field of the Dead ones, the amulet lists. So I'll be curious to see how this treats
Did he
him
only
today.
give himself 1 token?
He may have only given himself 1 token.
So, I mean, missed trigger. That's fine. He may just not have realized quite that he gets 2, not 1.
Correct. And is that a May or is that?
I mean, I don't believe it's listed as a May. I'd have to pull up the Oracle text to be sure. But being that we're playing a competitive for this event, and now he's just playing the Field of the Dead face up for his opponent to see. But being that we're playing a competitive, it's just a missed trigger. He didn't realize he should have gotten it. It's a play mistake. There's no penalty or anything. So we just play on.
Okay. That's going to be 2 life for Joshua there.
Yep.
And Dan's up to 24 after replaying the Kabira Crossroads twice.
Yep. And, okay, so there's the Ren and 6 emblem. Just pulling it out of the sleeve to symbolize the emblem.
He's holding an array of cards.
So I see a Nicol Bolas off to the far right.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got looking at his deck, he's got a lot of 1-ofs in here.
Yep. I like it.
Which is cool. And again, like he said on the back, it's a pile of cards that he owns that he wanted to play. Though I think Dan Johnson has kind of played his way out of this, so we'll see how this goes. The other thing right now is that Bojuka Bog was extremely relevant, like having only having access to the one lightning bolt.
Right.
Yes, we've got the retrace action going on, but he doesn't have a lot of mana to spend on it.
Nope.
And he doesn't really want to be pitching his lands to it. Like he needs to develop his own mana base in order to catch up here. So
agreed.
Currently very much favoring Dan Johnson.
Dan seems to be mulling over whether he goes to combat first.
And I think this is correct here. So doing his trigger.
You think he gets another Karoo to rebuy the Bojuka Bog?
He hasn't, or he played his Field of the Dead as his land for the turn.
He's still holding an Azusa.
He's still holding an Azusa, so he could post-combat the Azusa. I like the Bojuka Bog just because of the Ren and 6 emblem. You can just keep exiling his graveyard, and that's really good. Sure, he can retrace in response. Too bad that card goes right back to the graveyard and still gets exiled. So
correct. That looks like a Gruul Turf and Selesnya.
Yeah, double bounce land here. So he'll get 2 more dorks. And yeah, I'd be really surprised if one of them wasn't the Bojuka Bog back to his hand.
He's going to rebuy the Field of the Dead.
Yeah, that's to protect it because he knows his opponent's got that Ghost Quarter in hand.
Yep.
And then the Bojuka Bog. That makes perfect sense. So that finished his attack triggers.
Still in combat.
Still in combat.
Do we see any activation of the combat land?
We have not yet.
You think we will?
There
it is.
Well, that answers our question. Oh, no. He just took the damage and just cast post-combat Azusa.
Okay.
Which will be
Play
Field
a
of the
land
Dead
for turn,
first.
trigger.
Yep. Get more dork. And then Bog and get more dork.
Do you respond to that trigger here by bolting it? If
I
you're
think you
Joshua?
should have. I think you...
Because you see that coming.
Well, it depends on the number of lands. He does not actually have a lot of lands in hand. And so you don't really want to pitch... You need your land drops at this point. So...
And we've got a nice Fang Quaddle on the end step there. A personal favorite of mine. They didn't give us Baleful Strix. Instead, they gave us what is shaping honestly up to be in the format an equivalently powerful card.
I would agree. Different colors, but still with the flash. And it's does everything you want it to do. Maybe not Death Touch, but it does a lot of the things you want it to do. Realistically, the drawing the card and the Flying Flash that'll still do a lot for you. All right, so played his land, fetch up to get his basic swamp. I should say snow-covered swamp. Snow-covered showed up into Modern, and now everything's snow-covered. And it's not like they weren't even there before. We've had Cold Snap in Modern for years.
Personally similar to the old Zendikar lands that you could get in a traditional instead of a full art frame. I kind of wish that we had regular framed Modern Horizon Snowlands.
Yeah, and
that's
those...
going to be a dead of winter eating some zombies, killing the Azusa.
I mean, you still have Primeval Titan. You're still in a good spot here. But his ability to retrace the with Ren and 6 emblem. Now, I fully suspect Dan Johnson to, with his attack trigger, do exactly what he just did last turn: rebuy his Bog and Bog out that Dead of Winter.
Yeah.
And realistically, taking chunks of 6 a turn.
It's going to make it hard to go very much longer.
Correct.
Dead of Winter is a card I happen to be very, very on board with. I like the design. I like what it gave us. I like that it wasn't a life payment in a world with things like Death Shadow.
Or Toxic Deluge if you're thinking Legacy.
Yeah.
And there's Blast Zone on 2,
Yep.
which will take care of Joshua's board, which gives the Primeval Titan free reign to roam into his opponent's face.
Search. I wonder how many more Karus we have left. Should
The
be
deck
another
plays-
Sanctuary.
Yeah.
4 full growth chamber, so
Yeah.
he should be okay.
He should be fine, even with the Wastelands early.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the Ghost Quarters early.
It's modern. Same difference,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, as of right now, same difference.
There's a Vesuva. I like it.
I think Vesuva probably copies. Oh, he's copying the Karu.
Is he?
Yeah,
Can you copy Field of the Dead here?
You could
and-
copy Field of the Dead. You would get the extra zombies from it. But I think Dan's correctly identified that his opponent has a hard time answering Primeval Titan, and that's what wins in the game. Yeah, and there's the
That's
scoop
what does
phase.
it.
Yep.
Outstanding.
All right, so to the sideboard. So from check pile, let's see. We've got an Ashiok. Ashiok definitely comes in here. We saw last round how well that has impacted Modern.
Yeah. Do we
he's got-
think Ashiok is going to be fast enough for us here?
It kind of depends. Like Ashak would be like a fine follow-up from the if he can get his Ghost Quarter action online with 3 main deck Ren and 6. Like that's very possible again. But even in the situation like later in the game, it would have stopped the Primeval Titan triggers and really now you just have a 6/6 trample.
Sure.
So I think it's still relevant. He's also got 2 Fries. I don't actually know what that card does. That must be new.
Fry deals. It is new.
Okay.
It was from the recent core set. It
Okay.
deals damage to I believe a blue creature. We've got some interesting conversation from chat. Things look really bad for him early on. That's right.
Yeah.
And good morning to Phil Gunn, by the way.
Another one of our local players who could not make it in today. We were hopeful, but good to see you're able to at least stop in, Phil.
Yep. Fry is part of the color hate cycle.
Oh, sure. So I'm pulling it up on Gather on my
course.
Gather right now just so I get it correct. What else do we have in there?
We have an Ancient Grudge for Joshua coming in. I think that probably comes in. He's got
Yeah.
available in his main deck already to Abrupt Decay that I think will help. You saw there the Amulet player didn't even need the eponymous card of Amulet of Vigor
No.
to do what he needed to do.
He just got the 6 mana off of his extra land drops.
Right. In this case, I think it's interesting. There's no castle from the Amulet list. There's no Castle Garenberg, I believe is what it is, the new green castle from Throne of Eldraine.
Yes.
There's been a lot of talk in recent weeks about some of the changes that Amulet's going through where they're adding, whether it's Karn, Great Creator, or as part of the sideboard Wish Lock, because they can power that out so quickly. They can do both in a turn sometimes.
Right. Because
get
getting to
Micah's
10 mana,
Empires.
like if there's nothing slowing you down, your opponent doesn't have interaction. Getting to 10 mana is actually very easy in Amulet.
Right.
Especially if you have the namesake card, you can do that as early as turn 3. Tron, that's cute with your 7 mana on turn 3. Now let's just get 10 mana and lock you out of the game.
Right.
Okay.
And so one of the things we've run into, or that I've seen a lot of talk about in recent weeks with Castle Garenberg, is that you can land an early Amulet and then power out by turn 3 a Primeval Titan with just Amulet, Castle, and some additional card.
Yeah. So, all right. Looks like we're shuffled up, ready for game 2.
All right.
Both players still on 7, and away we go.
Right. Dan's opening hand looks,
Ooh.
I was going to say that looked
Ooh.
like a lot of land without a lot of real business spells for him. There's not a lot of There's not a lot. Looking at the chat too, it looks like the suggestion from Phil is that Dead of Winter should stay in for game 2, and absolutely I
Yeah,
agree.
it's probably Joshua's best answer to the zombie problem.
The zombie problem.
Yeah. Looking at other things, he's got a lot of one ofs in here.
Yep.
The Oko is kind of cool. Like if you find your one of Oko, like you can just Oko trade trade your Astrolab for a Primeval Titan
Or an Amulet of Vigor
or an Amulet of Vigor
if it's early.
if it's early.
I agree. I really do like Joshua's list. This is the kind of thing that seeing Modern as a format has its detractors and has its challenges as a format for a lot of people, but it happens to be something I like where whether or not what I'm doing is good, if I like to do it, I can just do it. And seeing people like Joshua play lists, they're very just playing cards they're passionate about, cards they happen to be happy every time they see them. It's a thing about the format that is unique, not strictly to Modern, but is something that is more accentuated in Modern because there's so frequently a consensus best thing you should be doing, and
Right.
people will just continue to do what they want in the face of that.
Yes, and the same thing's true from Dan Johnson's side here too. Is
Right.
He's playing something he knows. He clearly knows the deck, knows the interactions, knows what he's looking for because that's how he played himself out of that bad situation in game 1.
Yeah,
So,
really patient play there.
yeah. So he did mulliganing here in game 2. Like in Amulet Titan, that is a deck that actually mulligans pretty well, because you don't necessarily need that full 7 cards. It's not like, I mean, we saw Storm last round have to mull to 5. Like that's rough. You need every card you're down hurts. It's similar to like running if you mulligan with Burn.
Right.
But Amulet, that's a deck that can come back from the problems.
And everything in the Amulet deck is effectively a working redundancy.
Yes.
Everything can either get the land you need or the creature you need or is a trajectory or vector to get those things.
Yes.
We've got an early Ren in 6 again.
No Ghost Quarter yet, though. Like, I think if he had the Ghost Quarter in hand, he would have played it right there to blow up the bounce land. Like, it sets Stan Johnson back the turn.
Yep. Gives you the time you need.
Yep. So, Dan, this is probably a Zusa. Yep.
Yeah, this is going to be a little bit of an explosive mana development
Gains
turn
is
for
2
Dan.
life.
And this is the thing the Amulet deck can sometimes just do to you. It will just... Oh, and there's the bolt.
Yep.
I like it.
Yep.
In response to the life gain trigger.
Yep. Can't play my land in response.
That's tidy play.
Very tight play.
Kinds of things that might seem obvious, but I've stared at things I could do something about before and misplayed in the face of it. So
Well, I mean, one of the advantages they do still have, like, we're in round 2. Like, we're still early in the tournament, so you know, the play tends to be tighter the earlier you are in the event. I've judged plenty of events where I'm like in the second to last round or the last round, I'm staring at this match of Magic and I'm like, neither of you two should be playing Magic anymore. You all of the things you're doing wrong.
Right.
So
here comes
the
Ashiok.
Ashiok.
Now this is going to be a hard out for the Amulet deck to deal with.
Yeah, I mean he has outs, but it is difficult. He needs to remove Ashiok from the board.
Ooh, that's a Sakura Tribe Elder, another Azusa, one of Dan's basics.
Actually, the Sakura Tribe Elder's fine.
Sorry, Tribe Scout.
Or Tribe Scout. Oh, I'm sorry. It was Tribe Elder. I'm like, that's fine. That card was blank anyway, but...
Tribe Scout.
Tribe
and he
Scout.
hit one of the basic lands, too. So Ghost Quarter becomes a little bit more active, a little more live here.
Well, Ghost Quarter was very active anyways because Ashiok turns off me being able to search. So
True.
it was already strip mine. Now, here's the Karn.
He's going to search. He's not.
He will not search because of Ashiok.
Oh, you
Ashiok
can't search your graveyard or your. That's
search
right.
your library.
Can't search your sideboard. That's a fair point.
Yep. And nothing's currently exiled yet. Oh, no, we have exiled cards, but... I mean, on the positive side, like, things are not looking good for Dan here, but, you know, you are up game 1. That helps a ton.
Not a lot of pressure on the board currently. Again, this is Planeswalkers are shades of Blood Moon.
Yep.
Does this permanent that sits in play actively prevent you from killing me? Pay the 2 more on his search here.
Yep. And
Uh,
I'm sorry, he didn't go. He went up. So going up, up to
he
he
can't
just
search for
you can.
Overgrown Tomb
So he.
with Scalding Tarn.
Oh, did he just?
Can we get a stop?
Yep.
Okay. Just to let him know. That'd be great. Hold on, everybody. So currently we're trying to resolve a misplay here. Searched, I believe, unless I'm mistaken, he searched for an Overgrown Tomb. Joshua did. Searched for an Overgrown Tomb off of a Scalding Tarn, which is just an understandable misplay this early in the game. You've got 4 or 5 colors spread across the deck, and that's going to be a thing. We've called a judge, and we'll get this the board state reset. Magic's hard, folks.
Okay.
So the resolution there is
So the resolution is so nothing really happened. I just want to confirm. Let me get on and then start talking. All right, now with the headset on, I should start talking. So not really much happened since then. So most likely what'll happen is the judge is going to back this up, because he searched, he got his Overgrown Tomb. Did he do anything after getting the Overgrown Tomb or no?
he activated Ren and 6, returning the Scalding Tarn to his hand, and activated the Ashiok.
Okay, but nothing that would really, in my opinion. So having judged a lot, nothing in my opinion that isn't reversible.
Sure.
So, Scalding Tarn, then
We'll reset the game from here.
yeah, that'll go back into his library, which he will shuffle, and then realistically
Search for a watery
search
grave
for
here.
yeah.
Or a breeding pool if he has it in the list, and it looks like he's got a one of.
Yeah, he's got a lot of one-ofs in that land slot. And having kind of interacted with him when I went out and talked to the judge, the Joshua he went through a loop as to which land he was going to go get because he's on all these one-ofs, and he had talked himself into the Overgrown Tomb, then forgetting which land he had chosen or which land he had cracked.
Correct.
So something easy enough to do in a situation like this. So,
Right. Yep.
So this will be a warning to both sides. It is a rules violation. Because his opponent didn't see it, Dan will also get one of those failure to maintain game states.
It always feels punitive in that regard.
It does, but it's also one of those where it's kind of like a slap on the wrist. It's more like, just, this is competitive. You should pay attention to what your opponent's doing.
Right.
So otherwise, no real harm, no foul there. So there's the Coalition Relic.
Was I mistaken in seeing a mana leak? There it is from Joshua there.
Oh. Which is kind of what you want to do. Since you have your opponent off his Azusa and off of his other accelerants, you just want to
Continue to keep him off Primeval Titan as well.
correct. And
His removal, to be fair, Joshua's removal does not line up very well against a resolved Primeval Titan.
correct. And that's the card Dan Johnson really needs to resolve the most here.
I love Growth Spiral, by the way.
That
Not
card,
that you asked me, but I love that card.
I played the yep.
It's another.
That's another one of those accidental things. It turns out Karn turns off
Astrolabe.
turns off mana abilities. It doesn't just turn off non-mana abilities. It turns off everything. Well, there's Jace.
This feels like a route to victory potentially.
Yeah. Again, my other permanents are kind of maintaining the board. My play on Jace here is I would just try and win the game. I would go plus. Nope, we are going to brainstorm.
Depends on what's in his grip. Looks like there's quite a few lands, a Growth Spiral.
I mean, he does have an active fetch land on table, so I mean, he is able to ship away 2 cards here, get the effect of Ancestral Recall with it.
It's an
But,
Oko. I'm not sure what we're seeing.
There we go. That was an oops. That's all right. We're back.
Yeah. So he has an Oko in his hand too, unless I'm mistaken, or had brainstormed one.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what he resolved.
I think where he's probably going, he's got that Ren and 6 up to 7, so he's probably going to try and get that emblem again. That's probably his path to victory. And I haven't seen in Dan's and all those exile cards. So his Ashiok is good at exiling cards. Unfortunately, it does any artifacts that get exiled do feed the Karn,
Mm-hmm.
because though you can't search your library, you can certainly search your sideboard or your exile zone. I did double check interactions on the cards. Ashiok just prevents you from searching your library. So I can go to my sideboard and get cards with Karn. I can go to my exile zone and get cards with Karn, which is what Dan is doing here to get back that Coalition Relic.
Is there a reason he wasn't searching his sideboard?
So
Do you think?
he's plussed Karn every time so far, and it's on Karn's minuses when you search. So this is the first time he's
Oh,
actually
sure.
gone down to do that.
Sure.
So,
Hissy the snake comes down.
yep,
Big fan of that card.
big fan of that card.
And now it looks like Joshua's board is legacy.deck.
Yep,
There's the Abrupt Decay on
that's going to be on
the
Coalition Relic. Because Dan really wanted that. That was going to be his path to his Primeval Titan next turn. Now he is currently back down to 4 mana, 5 with a untapped land.
Oh, man. And there's the Oko.
Yep.
Prince of Crowns. Dan has to read it. I have to read it. I'm old. New cards come out almost every week. We don't know what it does.
So
he actually pluses to make a food token.
Correct.
Pluses to make something a 3/3 elk creature without any abilities.
Yep.
Now that's a creature or artifact that it turns into an elk.
Correct. It turns into an elk, and it loses all its other abilities. So that Astrolab is a 3/3 elk that is no longer an artifact.
That seems like a problem.
Um.
That's going to be a force of
Oh,
vigor.
pause.
All right, we'll pause the game here. Sorry, folks. We're going to have to resolve another rules issue here. Stacy didn't give me a chance. My co-host did not give me a chance to identify what it was that he thought the issue was. I believe the force of vigor here was targeting the Astrolabe, which had become an elk with no other abilities. And the question, and this is me speculating wildly, but I think the question is it's no longer an artifact. Oko in this case overwrites super type. Oko overwrites super type.
Oh, yes.
He forced in response to the activation.
No, well, because it looked like he went on stream, get the set back on, and then start talking. I'm going to get the set on and then start talking.
Sure.
So Oko overwrites everything. Because it becomes the 3/3 elk, it loses everything else. It is a
no longer an
3/3
artifact.
green. Yeah, it is no longer an
And
artifact.
force of vigor was not spent in response to the Oko activation.
Correct. And I mean, Oko being a relatively new card, you're going to see a mistake like this,
Yeah.
where you haven't played with the effect, you have no idea.
Right.
And it was definitely in combat where that was cast.
Sure. So it's
So-
already
It is.
an elk.
Yep. So it's not a legal target. This will just same penalties as before, except change who gets them. We'll just it's not a legal target. You rewind the spell, and we go from there.
Now I'm assuming the life total. Nope. It looks like he's attacking the Karn from there.
I missed who he was attacking on the original attack.
Yeah.
And the Nakatl, the flying dude, he's a 2/2, correct?
It's a 1/1.
Oh, he's a 1/1. Okay, so we're not killing Karn.
Truly a baleful Strix.
Truly baleful Strix. Okay. Yeah, and the only reason I knew this one right away is I just played against Oko last night at our standard FNM and had to ask all of the same exact questions because of my own artifact removal.
Of course.
So,
It overwrites the type there.
yep.
All right. Well, next round, Dan will make sure not to make that mistake.
Yes. Well, this is how you learn things is you make the mistakes. So,
That's a hard way to go, but
yeah.
in this case, it makes sense.
Now, being competitive, they're not going to back it up any further because, of course, had Dan known that, he would have killed it in response to the Oko activation.
Of course.
But,
Making sure everyone understands the situation.
yeah.
The Oko activation to make the Astrolabe a 3/3 elk with no other abilities also overwrites its super type of artifact.
Correct, because of the becomes text. It's a weird interaction. If something becomes an artifact, it doesn't lose any of its other text. If something becomes anything else, like if it becomes a land, if it becomes an enchantment, it typically loses all other super types and subtypes. So, Dan through the attack.
Took no damage. That all
So it
went at
looks
the
like Karn took 1, so Dan should have taken 3 there.
All right.
Oh, no, Karn's down to 1. Karn took all of that damage.
Got it.
All right. So back to the actual gameplay here. Dan is not in a good spot, especially after that issue there.
We've got a 2-drop engineered explosives on 1 on 2,
which is
we'll blow it.
exactly the card he wants right here. Gets rid of the Ren and 6, gets rid of the Nakatl. Yes, he still has that 3/3. But I mean, he's probably going to effectively get the fog out of it. It's probably attacking Karn again.
Yeah.
Now, there are still 3 other problem planeswalkers going on, and
Yeah, this really is 4-color, 5-color Super Friends from Joshua here.
yeah. I've not seen a white source, but I've seen everything else.
Astrolabe is a white source.
Astrolabe's the best white source. That was one of the best cards to come out of Horizons for the multicolored decks. It's like, oh, I'll just play Snow Basics instead, and now I have a mana fixer.
Yeah.
And Prismatic Vista goes and gets your basic Snowland.
And there goes the Karn.
And more Astrolabe. And it even replaces itself. It's like, oh, I drew this late. Well, I don't care. It replaces itself. All right. So now, in response to Oko, he's mugging the artifact, as he should.
Won't get fooled again.
Yes. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
I won't get fooled again.
Yes. It's really weird watching this and seeing like seeing the amulet player like just missing land drops. Oh, now it's Raven's Crime. That's
Crime time.
Yep. Especially as prime time goes to the yard. Like,
Secret ingredient is crime.
yep.
Oh, 2 Primeval Titans.
You know what that last card in his hand probably is?
Is it a Primeval
It's
Titan?
probably another Primeval Titan. This is why he's probably why he's been missing his land drops.
Well, that Ashiok is part of the reason why, too.
Well, that too.
There's an
well,
Ancient Stirrings.
Doesn't stop that.
That's another Primeval Titan off the top from the Ancient Stirrings.
Oh, I mean, if Joshua has one more land, which he could easily get if off of Brainstorming Jace, like, he just knocks that Primeval Titan, the last Primeval Titan, out of Dan's hand, and then Dan is done. Because like that's the card he really needs to win this game. Joshua could at this point answer everything else. Oh,
There's
there's
an Amulet of
Amulet.
Vigor. Untaps. We'll bounce the Kabiri Crossroads. That makes good sense to me.
I don't know. I don't like that. I actually would have bounced the Forest here
You think so?
because he's probably just going to Raven's Crime my card out of hand.
Sure. Growth Spiral to draw the card and play the land.
Yep.
Suddenly, Joshua Jones is a rich man.
Yes. There's the Brainstorm. Brainstorms into lands plus Jace, which is just fine.
Put that away.
More Astrolab.
Draw the card I put on top anyway.
Yep.
Can you force a Vigor another Astrolabe? So goes Robert Baratheon.
Yep.
So goes Dan Johnson.
Yep.
The Elk is coming for him.
The Elk are coming.
And he didn't activate the Raven's Crime here. He held on to the resources. He's just going to focus on developing his mana. He feels like he's comfortable.
Yeah. Which he should.
Primeval Titan doesn't even get him out of the situation. He cannot search with the Ashiok.
That is true. I was honestly just thinking like Primeval Titan as a 6/6 is difficult to be dealt with, but realistically, you play your Primeval Titan, you don't get your trigger, and then Oko's just like, that's cute. Have an Elk, I have a Primeval Titan.
Right.
So like the game is all but over. There's the Raven's Crime. Um, and this is where I get into the fallacy with Jace. I would be going plus on my Jace, just as an alternate, just hitting him on a different trajectory. Let's see. Looking at our chat boxes, I agree with the perspective. Like Dan, at this point, he might as well scoop and go to game 3. Um, the next question is like, well, how many Ashaks is my opponent playing out of their board? They have to draw it in game 3. Just give yourself the opportunity to win game 3.
And I'm going to tune into our own stream here, if I can find it. We've got some folks in chat who are talking to us, and I appreciate the company.
All right. More food online, in for 9. Boop, boop. Oh, I don't think I hit it enough.
Stacy's still learning the controls.
I'm still learning the controls here. There we go.
There we are.
Yep, okay.
Snapcaster Bolt. Yep.
Bolt, Snapcaster, Bolt. Yep. Which means we are probably behind on our life total changes, but yeah.
Phil ran the numbers. Dan's chances are less than 10% here.
Oh, now they're at 0%. All right, so
The clock has no mercy.
is there any changes that you would do to either of these decks for game 3?
For game 3, that's an
Yeah.
interesting question. Cards like Hornet Queen go wide here. Negate, Dan probably already brought in.
I see Joshua just immediately shuffling up, so I don't think any changes on his end. I see
No.
Dan. I think Dan took a quick look through his deck,
Yep.
see if there's anything he wanted to cut, but he doesn't look like he's bringing anything out here.
Right.
So.
And looking over his list, I'm not sure I change anything from what he had done.
So, we do have our timer running. We got about 10 minutes left in the round. Now, there will be extensions because of the 2 stops we had. Probably like 2 to 3 minutes each time. So we're probably, with time extension, we're probably looking at 16 minutes is probably what we have left in this round, plus turns. That should be time. I know that's time for Dan Johnson to finish a game. Like if he can play his game, get his Primeval Titan down, like he can easily win in that amount of time. Now Joshua with the check pile, I don't know that he has a fast win con. So the question I have is is there any thought from Joshua's perspective of playing to the draw here, of just deciding I don't have the time to win game 3. I'm just trying to eke out my draw.
Possibly.
Or is it something maybe not you do, maybe it's not something you do right away, but something at least in the back of your head?
Yeah.
So they both know time is an issue,
And they are playing with a certain level of speed and rapidity from here.
which
so.
is good. That's a good way to get games done. Now that can also create mistakes, but
We're gonna
that's
see
good
an
to see from
end-step-
both of them.
End-step Ice Fang.
Agreed. Coalition Relic. No Azusa this game, but still Coalition Relic, effectively good for 2 mana with your 3-cost artifact. Feels really good, especially for 2 mana of any color. Resetting our game state here. Okay.
Oh, he searched for a swamp.
Well, no
Well,
Ren in
that's-
6 this game. That will make Dan Johnson probably feel a little bit better. Oh, but there's the Abrupt Decay. I mean, that's realistically fine. You're okay breaking even. It's just when you are trying to develop your board and your opponent can stay ahead of you and keep you off of relevant permanents
Right.
that things can get bad.
Yeah, it can be a little taxing from
More
there.
Astrolab, so a little bit of spinning his wheels, but I mean, I think I see another Abrupt Decay in Joshua's hand.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to be able to slow down a lot of the aggressive things that Dan can be doing.
Unless that aggressive thing is a Primeval Titan.
Correct. I mean, I feel like that's what this match is going to devolve into. It's can Dan get to Primeval Titan? If yes, he's in the driver's seat. If not, Joshua is then in the driver's seat.
Agreed.
Did you pull up our Twitch chat to?
Well, I tried to. It's not running well on my phone currently. Yes.
Yep.
And I can see that too from Phil. So Phil in the comments said that after seeing the Dead of Winter in the game one, I might not bring in Hornet Queen, and I can get behind that.
Yeah.
It at least is a tax on cards like Oko, which 1-for-1 in exchanges.
I mean, I don't mind it though. And here's my reasoning why is like if you get your Field of the Dead online and then they Dead of Winter you, you can just immediately come back by tapping 7 mana, which you have because you're required 7 lands, into your Hornet Queen right after they cast their Dead of Winter. They're not usually going to have that Wrenn and 6 emblem, so being able to recur that Dead of Winter, not quite as much of a problem.
So he fetched for the Steam Vents off of the Wooded Foothills there, and then played the Growth Spiral into a Bloodstained Mire.
Yep.
Bajuka Bog comes down, not hitting anything of consequence.
I mean, he gets his artifact.
Hits the relic for the Karn, so he can rebuy it.
Yeah. Actually, it's a positive effect.
Thanks for the help.
Dan's gonna float a blue into his Ancient Stirrings. And I think what he's looking for right here, I mean, Ancient Stirrings has to be colorless, so he's probably looking for either the Amulet before having made his land drop, or for his another Coalition Relic. Either would be fine here.
I like that. It's hard to see what he found off the top.
It's fine.
Dan's
Going in
playing
the
it
tank
close
here.
to the chest, yeah. Keeping it close to the vest. There's
All
a
right.
blast zone.
I like Blast Zone. Comes in with the correct number of counters, so he can immediately just blow over to blow up his opponent's mana fixing.
Yeah.
But that's probably, I mean, that's a play. That's probably not where you're at here. That's probably gonna come in now.
He is going to do that.
He's gonna do it. His opponent is off of. I gotta see where he's at. So, in response, we've got the Codal,
Yep.
and in response, we have another
The
Codal.
second one. All right.
But now he's down to a single green source, which will slow down the removal package he's on.
Yeah. Snake beats.
I think he's also down. No, he's got 2 blue sources, so his Snapcasters are good. But yeah, his mana just got a lot more awkward. And Snake Beats are going to take a while, so I think Dan still has some time to finish this up.
Yep. Well. Was that an Ashiok in his hand I think I saw? Or was that a Jace?
I don't know, but he's sitting back on all of his mana there.
Explosives on 2 from Dan.
Oh, but there's a
There's-
mana leak for it.
Oh.
That's actually fine. You're okay with him burning his mana leak there.
Dan's
you're,
got a handful of lands, too.
Yep. Because if he's, I know I saw a Gemstone Mine in his hand. If he's got Gemstone Mine into,
There's another snake.
if he's got the untapped land. I saw a Gemstone Mine. If he's got Primeval in his hand, does he have Primeval?
He has the Summoner's Pact.
That's the equivalent of having Primeval Titan in your hand.
Yeah. And he hit the mana leak, so he doesn't have to worry about the Snapcaster there.
Correct.
I'll be curious to see what else Josh has in his hand. This is going to be... He's counting out. He's trying to balance all the blue mana. That Astrolabe was pretty good.
Yep.
That is a
Ooh,
Jace.
That's a Jace Architect of Thought as a 1-of in his list. Oh,
Wow.
well, with the mana open to cast Ashiok, he does have blue, black, and 1 open.
And this is a half a Factor Fiction.
This is half a Factor Fiction. So Dan's gonna make 2 piles. Joshua will take the Ashiok, and that's
I like these piles from Dan.
yeah. I mean, you have to. Ashiok literally neuters everything you're doing. So, now Joshua was thinking about it. Now the other 2 cards are both very, very good. But you take
Takes
the
the
Ashiok.
Ashiok so that he doesn't immediately die to a Titan.
Yep.
Dan doesn't have Field of the Dead math quite yet either.
No, because the double Simic Growth Chamber makes that awkward. Now the real question is, does Dan have an answer to the Ashiok that his opponent just played?
Boy, oh boy. Do you Summoner's Pact here in response if you don't have the Titan?
Yeah. Yeah, you're forced to play it in response. You're forced to pay for it on this upkeep, but it's better than just having straight up dead card in your hand. And yeah, honestly, Primeval Titan's still my go-to. I still cast it next turn. Well, I can't cast it next turn now because I have to pay for Pact.
Right.
But it's still on my to-do list because Joshua has proven in game one at least that he could not really answer a 6/6 trample.
Yeah.
Even without any of the other text on that card, that's still my current win condition.
Well, you take 5 from the Quaddle or from the Titan and you block with a Quaddle and that kills it.
True.
We are living in Baleful Strix land.
Yep.
Paid for the Pact. This looks
Two.
like a Stirrings.
That would be a Stirrings.
A pile of sorcery speed, basically enchantments from Joshua's current is taxing this amulet deck pretty hard actually.
Yeah.
There's a forest from
Forest
Dan.
is the land of choice.
Boy, oh boy. That Ashiok is doing work. There's a Ren and 6.
There's a Ren and 6. Now, I haven't seen a Ghost Quarter from him yet, so... But kind of slowly eating away at Dan's life total here with the Codals. There's Ren and 6.
Stacy, you told me that this would not be a fast beatdown plan, but this looks 3 snakes a turn is a fast beatdown plan.
I mean, sometimes I'm wrong.
He drew, what, all 3, or are there 4 Ice Fangs?
No,
in
he's
this
on
list?
all 4 Ice Fang Codals.
I like it.
Now he's drawn 0 Snapcaster Mages in 3 games here, which I find interesting. He is playing 3. A lot of 1-ofs or 2-ofs, but like the 4-ofs. The 4-ofs are pretty obvious. The Astrolab, 3 Lightning Bolt, 4 Growth Spiral, and then the 4 Codals and 3 Snapcaster Mages. So there's Primeval Titan.
You do what you gotta do.
You do what you gotta do.
You play the Titan.
You play the Titan. Oh, are we gonna see double Lightning Bolt here?
We're going to see Snapcaster Bolt. Yep.
Yep.
That is a clock.
Yeah. Now we're taking 5 off a turn. Like, you only have 2 or 3 more turns left.
Yeah. One last activation from Jace, Architect of Thinking.
Oh, Dead of Winter. Kind of negates
Ooh.
Yeah, and he actually just takes the lands. You're actually just fine just making land drops at this point.
There's the 5. What one card gets Dan out of this? You got any one card from the Titan list that get him out of this? The Ashiok activation flipped over a Summoner's Pact and 3 other cards.
I mean, even the interaction of like Karn Lattice, the guys can still attack. Hornet Queen could block for a turn, since he did not take that.
An Engineered Explosives, but so you could Karn here and get an Engineered Explosives on 2, but you can't active. Well, if he's got another land, he can.
2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, and if he has an untapped land, he could Karn, get the explosives, and it blows up all the attackers. So Amulet
makes a dude to block the Snapcaster Mage.
But doesn't even trade with it because that's the colony token, isn't he? A 0/1?
Yep. It's a 0/1 plant token.
Yep. I mean, it doesn't even really buy him a turn. He was on 2 turns anyway.
Thoughts and prayers for our Amulet Titan friend. And the Ren and 6 kills the plant anyway.
Yeah. Again, that didn't matter a whole lot. He's still down to 2. Yeah. You need explosives on 2. That's your out here because it blows up the Ren and 6 and all of the attackers. That's all of his damage coming forward.
And he has an explosives in exile.
He has an explosives in exile. So with the colony, he has the mana. He can Karn, go get the explosives, cast it on 2, and blow it. He has the mana to do exactly that. And there's the handshake.
There's the handshake. That was well played by both.
Yeah.
Despite all the stoppages, Magic's a complicated game. That was an exciting matchup, though. It was nice
Yeah.
to see. Because even the amulet lists, which seem like they're just ships in the night style, hyperlinear, ignore you deck, has a lot of interaction and a lot of angles to try to protect itself from
And
just getting killed.
and it clearly showed Dan's familiarity with the deck and how he won game one. Like game one was he was definitely behind, but smart play dug him out of it. So
We can't always see to answer you, Jiki. We can't always see the chat. We're trying to pay attention to it when we can. We don't have it on the stream at the same time.
So looking at it, Tamio isn't as good as the Bajuka Bog, because the Bajuka Bog can be bounced and played again. Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Freaky Jiki.
Yeah, and I also agree with the earlier comment. The clock has no mercy. Like they were both clearly playing very fast at the end. Like they knew the time was of the essence as we get to the end of the round here. So that probably also played a factor. But just based that Ashiok, like the one of Ashiok from the board.
Did work
for
in
Joshua.
both of those games.
Yeah, did work in both games 2 and 3. I think Dan could have come back had it not been for that one card.
Yeah.
So
we're going to take a couple of minutes to get the next round up and ready. Time and round had already been called for the rest of it.
Yeah,
so
should have been.
We are technically in the deficit. So we'll
Yep.
see you guys in a few minutes. Thanks very much for tuning in, and we'll see you for another round of Magic here at D6 Games.